You've been driving for a while and you feel like you've hit a plateau and you're just not improving anymore. You've upgraded your hardware, but you're still not able to be as fast as you would like. Well, guess what? I did that too, okay? I'm as guilty as you are. And that's exactly why Racine and myself created what we call the advanced way to learn. By using the techniques that we're about to show you, we were able to win national championships, and we're now coaching real-life drivers and sim racers all across the globe. So let me tell you why you absolutely need this to improve your racing skills. On this platform, you'll go through 5 learning steps. The first one is going to be to watch video lessons so you can take in all that theory. The second step will be to answer quizzes. We've created some questions to test your knowledge. Next, you'll have to partake in challenges. Here, you'll have to prove to yourself that you can apply what you've learned. You'll go on track and you'll try to beat the instructor's lap times or sector times. Following the challenge, you'll be able to send your onboard replay so instructors and other community members can help you improve. And lastly, you can get involved in the community to meet some new teammates and learn from others. This platform is a back and forth discussion between us, the instructor, and you, the students. If you're serious about becoming the best driver out there, this is the advanced way to learn.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Round 1 of the playoffs is in the books as Jeff Ward and Bradley Holly nabbed the first 2 wins of the season, and 8 drivers have been eliminated from playoff contention. And now, under the hot Nevada sun, it's time to roll the dice as RaceSpotTV welcomes you to round 3 of the PRL NASCAR Truck Fixed Series in 2024 Season 4, live from the virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway. My name is Joey Tevin. Joining me in the booth once again is Mr. Derek Watson, and behind the scenes on sound and pictures is our producer, Hugo Luis. Derek, we're here in Vegas. It's round 2 of the playoffs. It's already been a very exciting start to the season at both Kansas and Talladega, and now it's another place of super speedway high speeds.
Yeah, look at this schedule's upcoming. This current round of the playoffs is really going to get exciting. A wide mix of ovals of 2 miles or less in length. No super speedways left, no road courses. Back to what we almost call traditional old school NASCAR on the schedule.
And now that we have 2 rounds in the books, we do actually have some sort of championship standings in the Season 4 standings, at least. Bradley Holly, with a first-place finish at Talladega and a second-place finish at Kansas, is unsurprisingly your championship leader right now in the pro standings. Richard Regan Jr. is currently second. Your Kansas winner, Jeff Ward, after having a slightly worse week at Talladega, is currently third, about 28 or 18 points behind Bradley Holly, if you do the math correctly. In the AM standings, things are a little bit more separated after 2 races, as there's been a little bit more diversity in the finishing results in those 2 races. Andrew Sharp won at Kansas. The AM winner at Talladega was Zach Panzarella, but all of these drivers have slowly merged, Derek, and only 8 points separate Andrew Sharp from Zach Panzarella in the top 6.
Yeah, with this point system we're running of points where you finish, I think this will all sort of work its way out into a big conglomeration at the end. We'll wait and see. Andrew Sharp, of course, chasing down that title, 5 points ahead of Kyle Dewey, and we'll see how this plays out as the weeks go on. Let's take a look at the team points here and see what we got here. This is going to be for Whataback Racing Overdrive. A pretty sizable lead, Joey. Look at that, 27 points over DDI 44 Ever. Regan Bogan here at 129 with Bluegrass right there. That's Jeff Ward, and others on that team. Mark Kalin's what I'm looking for. So look at that point battle there. I mean, that was a 3rd through 7th. It's like 10, 12 points apart. That's so close.
It's going to be exciting to watch all season long, and those were all the Season 4 standings just for this season, but there are also the playoff standings, and we are now in the round of 12. The round of 16 has come and gone with those first 2 races, and as you can see, those grayed out drivers in both the Pro Division and the AM Division, we've already cut 8 total drivers, 4 in both, Derek.
Yeah, you see the names here. So you got the names on the left, the Pro Division, the former Grand National drivers, Thomas Sink, Ward, Lane, and Doug Evans are all at risk here of being cut. On the right side is Nick Hunter, a point down. And you got Kyle Dewey, Schmidt, and Tom and Massey back there. And look at that on that cut line on the right side, though. Look at that, Joey. 7th, Mike Toomer Jr., 8th, McGarvey, 9th, Hunter. 1 point for 3 drivers.
You can't afford to have a bad race, and for some drivers that did get cut, Philip Beaver had to miss Talladega, so Dr. Beaver got cut, unfortunately. Jacob Dunn had some bad luck. Dalton Geyer had some bad luck in the Pro Division. You just cannot afford in this system to have a bad week, as those points add up very, very quickly, and that cut line comes very, very quickly. But qualifying is coming up very, very quickly here at Las Vegas, but before we can do that, we have to thank Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code. RaceBox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, their button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit RaceBoxSimRacing.com and also get a 5% discount, also using the Precision 5 coupon code. The Butt Kicker. Products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat with The Butt Kicker. Moradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit moradness.com. Mr. Hedge iRacing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest, or simply worst moments from your hobby in up to 8K resolution. A great addition to any sim room. And last but not least, Advanced Motorsports. Get ready to learn to be fast with Advanced Motorsports. Follow them on their socials to become a better driver. All right, qualifying underway here at Las Vegas. The majority of the field, or dare I say the entirety of the field, Derek, has already got out. They see that sunlight dwindling, they see the track getting cooler, and they've already put some lap times down. And Richard Regan Jr. already started on pole in the first mile and a half of the season at Kansas. Looks like he's about to go 2 for 2.
Yeah, and this was very calculated by Richard. When I talked to him earlier today, Joey, he told me he's concerned about the pack racing. He wants this thing to thin out. And so, listen, when you qualify first and you get up front, you sort of wipe off that concern you have about being in the pack. There's Richard live on the screen in his VR headset. Got all the sponsors behind him, got all the winners tags, the stickers behind him. So great job here by Richard for self-promotion. Well, Joey, the grid has finalized officially. I think it's time to look at our starting grid.
Richard Regan Jr. will start from pole for the 66th time in his PRL career. He'll start alongside Jeff Ward, looking for his second win of the season. Nathan Deering for Regenboog Motorsports, an excellent run for him. He'll start from third alongside his teammate Zachary Burnt. Colton Lane and Thomas Sink, a good pair of qualifyings for the Whataback drivers on row number 3. Back in 7th is Abner Acosta, the only driver with multiple poles at this track in a truck, if I'm not mistaken. Kevin McGarvey will start alongside him. Defending AM winner Zach Panzarella will start alongside his teammate Dalton Geyer to round out the top 10, and rounding out the top dozen, how beautiful is that? It's a pair of Evanses. It's son Jeff and dad Doug on the row number 6.
And then we have Dustin Bumgarner and Daniel Knight, 13th and 14th in row 7. Brett Adams and Tyler Graff, 15th and 16th. Austin Hunter and Andrew Sharp, your current AM points leader, back here in P18. Moving on back to Jamie Graham and Nicholas Schwartz, 19th and 20th. 21st is Ted Lowendick with Bradley Holly back there in 22nd. That's a name to look out for. That's really far back for Bradley. And then Mike Knight and James Morgan of Todd Vitarasi Esports back in P24.
Deep in the order, Jacob Dunn will start from 25th. Look for him to move forward, as you'll see Mark Kalin move forward as well from 26th. Mike Toomer is 27th alongside Dr. Beaver, who returns from a week off of vacation. And then it's 2 more DDI trucks, and Jose the Funky Cole Medina, Alex Hillman rounding out the top 30. But the hits keep on coming as Nick Hunter will start 31st alongside Dylan Schmidt, Patrick Cowgill, Tom Macy, and Stacy Hunter round out the drivers who were allowed to set qualifying lap times today. Mike Richter and Brendan Chatley, they'll start shotgun on the field 36th and 37th after being found a little bit naughty at Talladega last week. They've been given qualifying penalties, and they'll be looking from the back. But 37 trucks, Derek, in this field. It's not the biggest field in PRL history at Vegas. That's actually 38 trucks, but 37, it is absolutely massive. And for 60 minutes of action, you're going to be looking everywhere throughout that field. All 37 of them are going to be in it.
Well, and the thing I noticed in that graphic we had on the screen, Joey, 0.2 of a second is the qualifying difference between 1st and 35th. This is going to explain to you how tight this racing is going to be, why Richard Regan was concerned about the pack racing, why some drivers consider this to almost be a draft fest. When all 35 drivers are that close on qualifying, that's crazy to think about. And obviously, it speaks to the skill of the drivers, but it speaks to just what this racetrack is. This is a beautiful, beautiful track here in Vegas, Joey. I think it's time almost to say roll the dice and see what happens.
Exactly. Roll the dice, spin the roulette wheel. Anybody could do it. It is known for being a little bit of a wild card. There has never been a caution-free race in the history of PRL truck racing at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. There's been 3 first-time winners in the last 3 races here. It is a little bit, I won't say random, but it's a little bit unpredictable here, Derek. Is that going to continue tonight?
Oh, I think at least it's going to be wild and random. I have a couple thoughts. That caution-free race, I don't know. I think that might still be a stat at the end of the night, but we'll wait and see how the winners round turns out. Well, Joey, time to pull up a chair and see who can take up residency in the winner's circle.
Richard Regan Jr. starting from pole yet again. It's been a while since he drove a truck at this track, but when we last ran this track in the Grand National Series, Richard ended up winning the race, so he's got a good Vegas resume in 2024. And now, as the iRacing pace truck pulls onto pit road, Richard Regan Jr. takes control of the field. Jeff Ward to his outside. The green flag flies, and it's time to go racing in the round of 12 for the PRL Truck Fixed Series. Look at him fanning out 3 wide already in the background as into turn 1 for the first time. Ward in the 89, Regan in the 56 on the bottom, file their way through turn 1. Burnt and his teammate Nathan Deering side by side directly behind. Regan leading the field though into turn 3.
And look at all the drivers just fanned out everywhere, Joey. This is a multi-groove track. There is no one line here. So you'll see drivers up 2, 3 wide, moving 2, 3, 4, 5 lanes if need be to make things happen. We're going to finish the first lap here, and no surprise, Regan's going to lead that lap, and that's going to give him a little bit of calm and comfort as we head into lap number 2.
One lap in the books, and all 37 trucks are still pointed straight, but look a little bit deeper in the field. I believe that's Daniel Knight in the 17 trying to rip the high top around the outside of the highlighter yellow truck of Doug Evans. They're 3 wide further forward in the field as Thomas Sink sends it 3 wide on Zachary Burnt and Nathan Deering. Deering falls back to P5, and Thomas Sink up to P4, maybe even P3 as he gets into the draft of Jeff Ward and looks forward at the side-by-side fight for second.
Now, Joey, this necessarily is not a drafting track, right? This is not a dig. It's not a Daytona. The draft is important here, but it's almost more momentum-based. It's almost like racing a go-kart.
Junior blocking those 2 lines. Burnt on the top, Ward on the bottom. Sink giving a little bit of a push to Jeff Ward. It almost looks a little bit like Talladega last week as Richard Regan Jr. is kind of being like Dale Earnhardt Jr. right now. He's got to be the Pied Piper of the field. He's looking where the momentum is, and he's blocking it off.
That move is dangerous. I have a lot of respect for Regan Jr. and his driving skills, but when you start moving up and down lanes as a driver, you run a lot of risks. You run a risk of just maybe not being clear and getting across someone's bumper. It makes me nervous to see it happen, but if there's someone I trust to do it, it's Richard Regan, as he is leading Burnt, Ward, and Deering here in the top 4.
That tandem now between Deering and Burnt, they're trying to work together in some sort of way as we ride on board with Nathan Deering now. He is a driver who has some truck experience now, but this isn't necessarily his, it hasn't been his forte for the entirety of his career. We saw a lot of him in the PRL and GT racing, in prototype racing. And since he switched into this truck, we've seen some great speed out of him, and especially today in the top 5 for the entirety of this opening stint, Nathan Deering really trying to show off that he can compete on the ovals as well.
And you know what he told me today? He said, I want to be the disruptor. I want to come in here and perform. Yeah, I'm not a playoff driver. I'm not in that graphic for the round of 12 and all that stuff. But I want to be the disruptor. I want to put my name out there and put a stamp on this and just prove that just because you're not a playoff driver, there's still stuff to race for.
We saw Zachary Burnt take a peek to the inside of Regan for the lead. He wasn't able to get the nose all the way there, though. Look a couple of rows back as Abner Acosta in that yellow number 5. He's going absolutely all the way to the bottom. He was almost in the grass, as now he's 3 wide with Daniel Knight and Dalton Geyer down the back stretch. That's resolved. But this is absolute craziness, Derek. We've been racing for 5 minutes now. It's been 7 laps, and they're still 3 wide in the top 10.
They're still 3 wide. There's been so many passes here for spots. If we had a counter, which I know we don't have, like for number of passes, I don't just mean for the lead, Joe. I mean just for any spot. Like, everyone's moved up and down the list a couple of times already here. So pretty awesome to see that style of racing. You see Abner said in that yellow truck there, trying not to drift up, and does a great job at it. But man, I bet if Abner had a choice, he'd rather be in the top lane.
And speaking of moving forward, speaking of making passes, remember you called out a specifically bad qualifying from Bradley Holly. We're not used to seeing him that deep in the field. Well, he's right behind Abner now. He's right alongside Abner now, fighting for P9. Bradley Holly, winner from Talladega last week, is up 12, now almost 13 spots since the start of this race.
Yeah, Bradley is a great driver, wanting to make a great run here. The winningest driver in all of PRL. Would love just to put another W on that list here in that 184 machine. Look at this, how bright purple that is. And I guarantee you, there it is. So I say, when we see, it's like twins. Look at that.
Looks exactly like him.
That's exactly like him. Just a few pounds less. I love Bradley, but that's one of those is like Bradley, one of those is Bradley on Ozempic, you know?
That's true, man. What's his name, did you say?
Oh,
that's Leroy?
Leroy. I had to look it up in my notes. Yeah, sorry, it's Leroy. That's his name back there. I think Leroy's got more hair than Brad does.
That's true. And I mean, I think it's kind of been his mentality here in the opening laps. He's now up 14 spots as he gets around his teammate Colton Lane. I think he's got to give Leroy a last name. I think Jenkins has been his mentality today.
I'll tell you what, look at Leroy's face. That's what happens when you try to block Bradley Holly for the win. In PRL, he just sort of gives you that look. You just get scared of Bradley Holly, but here he is. Look at him racing, pretty calm, pretty stoic. Not much movement in that wheel, by the way. Something you always want to track on driver webcams. You can always tell how much fun a driver's typically having, Joey, at an oval based on the amount of movement. Look at that red line in the middle of the wheel. If that thing's moving I don't know, even 40, well, not even 45 is too much, even 30 degrees, you're not having a hard night. But look how stoic that was. Here's Bradley's own version of driver cam, by the way. You see his screen, all his overlays, and what he sees. But and that little bit of movement in that wheel tells me Bradley's having a good night in that truck.
It's jiggling a little bit, his head's jiggling a little bit. There's all sorts of movement in Bradley Holly land, and if you look a little bit further back, not even that much further back, his former teammate, now sort of, you know, pseudo garage partner, now that Mark Kalen's with Bluegrass Motorsports. Mark Kalen is also up a similar amount of spots. He started 26th in the order. Mark Kalen is now up to 15th, so both him and Brad, your biggest movers, up multiple digits, double digits of spots in just the opening 13 laps.
There's something about these more classic NASCAR tracks, like Vegas or, you know, tracks of that nature. Mark does really well at. It just, he seems comfortable. You know, some of the shorter tracks, like Dover's not Mark's thing, but he's mile and a halves. He seems to do really well at. So good for him. He's up here, teamed up with Jeff Ward. I'm gonna get that name correctly. I got criticized 2 weeks ago. Apparently, I mixed up Jeff Ward and Jeff Evans. Not my fault.
Can't be mixing the Jeffs.
I know. So, by the way, shout out Jeff Evans, out here racing on a mobile hotspot. He's still, whoa, hold on, come back to that.
Oh, man, and there is a mobile hotspot on the back stretch. That was Zach Panzarella in the 247. Broadside across the track. No caution flies just yet, but now it does, as neither of those two trucks were able to get going again. After 14 laps of green flag racing, the caution flies for the first time with Zach Panzarella in the wall on the back stretch.
That wreck went on forever, Joey. That's going to be a pretty bad wreck in the back of the field. It's going to involve Patrick Cowgill and others. We'll see in just a moment here. But yeah, that's going to be not good news for some of the drivers here. Well, first yellow's out. So only, 10 minutes in, a little less than 10 minutes. I'm curious how many drivers want to put new tires on this thing. Everyone told me tonight in practice, new tires are king, but it might be too soon for that.
And this did end up being a conversation at Kansas with a couple of well-timed cautions. There's only 3 new sets of tires available to all of these drivers on pit lane, so you do have to be conservative. You do have to think, if we're going to get multiple more cautions, do you want to save some of those sets? Well, it looks like the majority of the field, potentially the entirety of the field, is going to bring it down pit road here. Richard Regan Jr. leads everybody down, but also remember at Kansas a couple weeks ago when you had drivers like Jacob Dunn, Tom Macy staying out to lead some laps and get some track position. Doesn't look like that's happening this week, Derek. That looks like everybody.
No. There was some really unpopular opinions about those drivers staying out 2 weeks ago, and I think they're not going to try that again here. I'm a little surprised, though, Joey. I mean, I know it's easier to pit under caution and not lose that many spots or maybe gain spots depending upon how it goes, but only 8 minutes in, I'm a little surprised. I just thought some drivers would want this first set of tires to last a little longer, you know, in case we do need more tires later. Yeah, I get it, but it might be worth a roll of the dice. Here's the wreck, by the way. Watch the middle of your screen. There it is. Ooh. Now watch this. This is going to go on forever. That's Mark Kalen, by the way, right there. The truck was spinning first, but look at how bad it gets right here. Yeah, it gets worse before it gets better.
Yeah, Panzarella did not end up being the cause of the caution. He was off the racing surface. He was pretty much fine. It was the second part of the caution with Dylan Schmidt and about 5 trucks at the back of the field. That was actually the reason for that caution flag flying. Dylan Schmidt is down pit road right now, getting some lengthy repairs. Alex Hillman took a big hit as well. Nick Hunter, Jacob Dunn, Ted Lowendick, Tyler Graff, and a few others all getting heavy repairs after the incident that brought out the first caution. The race off pit road, by the way, not much of a change. Regan, Burnt, Ward, still your top 3. Here's that second part of the crash, as it was Tyler Graff getting turned by Doug Evans, and there's Lowendick and Hunter and a few others onto the scene of the crash very, very quickly.
Yeah, that shows how fast things happen here at this track. It's a big track, and there's multiple lanes, but I mean, that was pretty much a track blocking wreck by the end. There's nowhere for anyone to go, so that's going to really hurt some drivers involved in this wreck. Well, Joey, you know, we started to talk about Jeff Evans a second ago, and then probably a moment while we're under caution to stop and say, you know, if we have any viewers down in the, I guess, the southeastern United States, please stay safe. I hope, you know, maybe evacuate if you want to, or you're somewhere safe. A couple PRL members, Charles Sumner, I hope he's safe right now and he's down near the eye of the storm. So we'll see how this can fare out. But here's Jacob Dunn. Let's watch this view here. Oh, we get hit. Hold on to it. Hold on. Oh, no, not clear.
Austin Hunter, Colton Lane, Patrick Cowgill was the last truck on the scene. That's a lot involved.
Yeah, but regardless, if you're somewhere in that area, please stay safe. There's more important things in your sim rig. And so just a lot of thoughts to those people out there tonight, Joey.
And a couple drivers not able to be here tonight, unfortunately. Doyle Lawrence had a busy day, got home a little bit too late, and our old buddy Marty Calvert has a little bit of an injury he's recovering from, so hopefully we'll see both of them back next week. Because if we had them both this week, Derek, that would be 39 trucks. That would be the biggest field of the season and the biggest field in PRL history at Vegas. So we need everybody we can get. We love these big numbers. We love these big races. And I think this has been one of the best seasons the PRL Truck Fixed Series has ever seen, with the sheer amount of drivers we're getting on track every week.
Yeah, you know what? There was a lot of opinions about this season coming into it, Joey, whether it be about, you know, moving everyone to the trucks, or whether it be Pro-Am, or whether it be the playoff system, or so many opinions as there isn't anything in life. But right now, the main thing to focus on is the number of vehicles on track, the quality of racing for the first couple weeks, you know, just how fun it is having a full field. Now, listen, I said this sarcastically. We'll see how we all feel about the full field at Iowa next week, because that's a small track, and, you know, there won't be much privacy at Iowa with the number of trucks. But it's been amazing to see. I'm excited for it. It's a great mix of talent here, so I think it benefits everyone to put all these drivers in one series.
Now we're ready to get things going again. Few minutes under caution, a brief interruption of some fantastic racing action, and we've got just about everybody still out on track. We've still got a couple trucks on pit road getting repairs. Dylan Schmidt hasn't made it back out. Hillman and Dunn are also still getting repairs, but that's still 34 trucks still out there and still on the lead lap. And now the iRacing truck, the iRacing pace truck, pulls off, pulls onto pit road, and gives Richard Regan Jr. control of the field once more. Richard Regan Jr. takes control and takes the green flag as we're back to racing at Las Vegas.
What a great jump there. Look at that, Burnt got right back in line behind him, and then it's too wide behind him with Ward and Sink. So everyone's going to be good here through 1 and 2. Not too long to get.
Three wide almost between Burnt, Ward, and Sink. Bradley Holly sneaking into P4 on the inside. Regan's been able to pull almost a 2 truck length gap over the rest of the field, but he's got Ward and Holly coming with a full head of steam.
Yeah, that's impressive, by the way. Bradley Holly, remember we said how low he qualified. There he is, top 3 right there, the inside of that green machine, and trying to make this run work. See if he can stick it in there. Right now, that green truck on the outside may have the better run, just Burnt, because he doesn't have to worry about someone checking up, but we'll see how this goes. Now to turn 3, it's still side by side, and they're doing a pretty good job of it.
It's a big loose moment into turn 3 there for Burnt. Was able to save it. Can he keep it out of the turn 4 wall this time? Yes, he can. But look at that top 3. Regan, Ward, and Holly. I just think back to the opening round of the season at Kansas once more, when it was a duel between these 3 drivers, when it was an all-out battle. It was Jeff Ward that ended up coming out on top that last time, and look at him with the momentum. He's got the run to the top. Can he get to the side of Richard Regan Jr. and start on the side draft into turn 3? He's there, and he's going for the lead.
Yeah, doing a great job here is Jeff Ward, having an amazing season so far with that win, as you said, in the first race of the season. So look at this here. Now, these guys continue to race side by side, Joey. What's going to happen is they're going to hold each other up a little bit. That'll keep Bradley Holly in the picture. It'll also bring in all the other cast characters, Sink, Knight, Burnt, Adams, Evans, and so on. We'll only get further, into the picture by these drivers racing side by side.
This is the furthest alongside Richard Regan Jr. anybody has been all night. Jeff Ward is there and fighting for this lead off of turn 4. He's not able to stick alongside him. He's not going to lead it at the line, but you can throw a blanket over these 3 trucks. A little bit of a bobble, a little bit further back for Zachary Burnt, and that green truck gets all sorts of high through the tri-oval once again. He's falling back. It's their single file now for the lead, and Ward slots in behind Bradley Holly now to try and let the purple truck, the 184, lead the charge.
Now, we're only a few laps in, but something to keep in mind here as this race goes on, if it does stay green. Some of these trucks that are surging forward right now, Joey, what may happen is they may be super aggressive in this moment. They might be burning off more tire than necessary to make some passes happen. So as this race stays green, watch some of the names that are surging forward, and let's see if they stay forward. That'll be the important question to ask yourself. We may see some names creep up in there. Jeff Evans, Abner Acosta, James Morgan may creep to the front as some of those trucks in the front start creeping back.
On the outside on the high line, Jeff Evans in the pink and white truck is looking to move forward alongside Brett Adams. That's a pair of drivers, Derek, who got their first win at Vegas all those seasons ago. Brett got his first win in a truck here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Jeff did exactly the same. They're side by side for 7th and 8th, as now Evans does swallow up he swallows up the yellow truck of Abner Acosta, actually, and slots in line behind Brett for 7th and 8th.
Yeah, they're both doing a great job here. Jeff Evans, as on that mobile hotspot, man, if you want to get a new sponsor, Jeff Evans, whoever you're mobile hotspotting through, because that's a darn good connection you got there to be that solid on the track and what have you. So just trying to race here as hard as he can. Jeff still has no internet at home due to the effects of the first hurricane from a week or so, or 2 weeks ago. So thoughts with Jeff as well. Man, look at Zachary Burnt got up there.
Oh, Zachary Burnt's getting down there into the wall. So we ride on board with Jamie Graham avoiding it. There's the smoke cloud. There's Burnt going back up the track. Caution has not flown yet, and now it does, as Burnt did end up back on the racing surface. Just like that first caution, an incident on the backstretch leads to trouble, and one of the most promising trucks of the day, Zachary Burnt, having one of his best races ever. It's going to end in disaster.
Couldn't tell who that was. I think it was Brett Adams behind him. I couldn't tell if that was Burnt scrubbing the wall or if Adams scrubbing the wall. We saw the smoke kicking up from time to time, and then eventually Burnt went around and got up on 2 tires. That's what we're going to see in the replay in a moment here. But now we are caution 2, averaging one about every 10 minutes so far. So not the average these drivers really want to see happening as this race goes on. Now, let's see what happens. So let's watch the replay. What's that wall up there? I think he got onto the front end of Adams, put himself in the wall, and oh my gosh.
Oh, very well done. Oh, I was going to say well done by everybody for avoiding, but unfortunately, yet again, it was the back of the field that really ended up bringing out the caution. Basically, everybody made it through except for that final cluster of trucks. And you really don't want to be at the back of the field here today.
You know, Joey, I got to be honest with you and say for a second, this is kind of frustrating to see. Like, within iRacing, once the yellow is out, the yellow is out. So let's watch this here from Panzarella. And, I mean, you can't really see up in the lights from this camera view, but this caution's out. Like, oof. These guys need to do a better job at slowing down, with all due respect. That caution's out. There's nothing to race for. All you're doing at this point is racing to be like the first to the scene of the accident at this point. I don't understand this desire. If you're in the back of that pack, get on the brakes, woe it down, and don't put yourself in that position.
And it was Mike Richter who got into the back of Zach Panzarella on that onboard, if I'm not mistaken. And there are many, many trucks on pit road now as Deering and Burnt and Lane, McGarvey, Panzarella, Graff. The list goes on. There's about 5 more that I didn't even mention. All involved, all getting damage, and all down pit road for some of them the second time today to get even more damage repaired.
And that's unfortunate for McGarvey, one of those names we've mentioned in the pre-race that was really on that cut line for these playoffs. So unfortunately for him, that's just going to make it harder to achieve the next round.
It's like nobody's going to bring it down pit road this time. You have your cast of characters with damage repair at the head of your screen. They all brought it down pit road, but nobody electing to take that second set of tires just yet. No real surprise with 40 minutes left in the running and only 2 more fresh sets on pit road. You don't really want to use up your fresh rubber that early. But we do have to start thinking now, if you're up front. Richard Regan Jr. has led both of these first stints, has been totally dominant, has been essentially unbeatable. Not even Jeff Ward could do it when he was alongside him. So how do you start thinking about beating Regan? Do you try and jump him on a restart? Do you try and catch him off guard on a restart? What do you do if you're Bradley Holly or Jeff Ward to try and unseat this guy?
I think the first answer is pit strategy, honestly. If you get ahead of Richard Regan, it causes him to ride in that dirty air. Maybe the truck will drive different. But I think the second answer is maybe, you know, in that last restart, we saw Burnt quickly get in behind Regan and kind of give that little bit of push that you can get from the draft here. If you want to beat Richard Regan, move up top. You know, get out of his lane. Don't give him that extra aero advantage and start racing him. Richard's not unbeatable by any means. He's a human. You know, he puts his pants on, you know, one leg at a time, just like the rest of us. He can be caught. He can be beat. It takes a little bit of strategy, a little bit of brains, a little bit of racing, you know, strategy. But if there's someone I think can do it, it's that driver of that purple machine in Bradley Holly.
Can never count Brad out. Even at Talladega last week, a race where anybody could have pulled it off, it was Bradley Holly who, with a triumphant move in the final stint, pulled a 3-wide merge down to the bottom and took the lead before the final caution came out to end up triumphing at a super speedway. We're going to rack them up side by side here. We'll go racing once again in just a matter of moments. I do want to give a shout out to 9th place Jamie Graham, though. We're giving all this credit to Bradley Holly. We're giving all this credit to Mark Kalin for making up double digits of spots today. Jamie Graham up 10 spots as well, and for a driver who did get cut from the playoffs last week, he did get cut in the round of 16, he's still got a season to fight for here in season 4, and a top 10 would be a big result for him.
Yeah, it'd be a great result for him, wouldn't it, just to come out here and set the momentum, maybe win the season 4 title, have that going for you, you know, and be ready for next year's playoffs when we start back in season 1. Right around the beginning or the end of this year, early next year of 2025. Well, here we are, Joey, less than 40 minutes to go. Going to end our second caution. And I think this will be the most intriguing battle up front so far. Let's see if Bradley Holly has anything in the tank here for Richard Regan.
He's had 2 different characters to his outside in the previous 2 restarts, but it's still the same guy at the head of the field. The number 56 of Regan will retake control of the field as the iRacing pace truck once again takes that hard left onto pit road. And the number 56 for restart number 3 is going to lead the field to green. Look at that dark blue truck of Jeff Ward behind him, though, trying to take advantage of the jump. Is he going to get to the inside of Bradley Holly into turn 1? He's got a push from the 17 of Daniel Knight behind him. Sink in the 48, pushing Bradley Holly in the 184 on the outside. It's going to be the bottom that wins out, though. Ward clear of Holly into turn 2 and trying to find the draft of Regan down the backstretch.
In a way, I'm stunned that didn't work out better for Holly because the trucks were backing off in the bottom lane. There was no extra push for Regan, but he still got up there and made it work. Here's Jeff Ward now in the P2. Wants to ride behind Richard Regan, try to make the pass. But here, look at this. That's Daniel Knight, P3. That's Bradley Holly in P4. And everyone wants to be in the front of the lead here.
It's big moves from Daniel Knight. He's going to get to the inside of Jeff Ward into turn 1. Is that where he wants to be? In the draft to Regan, to the inside of Ward. Little bit of a bobble, little bit of a bump from Holly to the back of Knight, and here comes Jeff Ward swerving to the inside into turn 3. Ward in the 89, Regan in the 56. Are we about to see a change for the lead for the first time today? Jeff Ward with the side draft down the front stretch isn't going to lead at the line, but he's certainly fighting for it into turn 1.
Doing a pretty great job trying to make those tires stick down to that white line. It's hard to do sometimes because the truck wants to move up, and every time it moves up on you, you're killing a little bit of speed with every time the truck moves here. But he's got a great push, and Bradley Holly, they're going down the bottom lane of the straight here. Now down into 3 and 4, they're side by side are the leaders. This is Jeff Ward on the bottom, Richard Regan up top, and almost contact, Joey.
Immensely close quarters up at the front of the field, and think about those 2 guys behind this front battle. Or think about 2 of the guys behind this front battle. Daniel Knight has not won in 2024. He is desperately searching for his first win of the year. Thomas Sink back there. It's been a while since he's won as well. Can they break through with this armada now that they are side by side up front? Is this helping him out? Can Knight find a way through the middle? Looks like he's going to have to ride behind Regan in the draft on the top. The top was never the place to be in the first couple stints of this race, Derek, but Regan seems to be able to run any of them as he continues to lead.
He does. He's doing a pretty great job of really holding there. I think what he's doing effectively, he's almost pinching Jeff Ward to the bottom. He's not exactly pinching, but he's definitely not letting Ward get the full run out of the corners, and that's why Regan's holding a pretty good lead here. But now look up top. That's Bradley Holly basically pushing Daniel Knight at this point. So we're seeing just how effective this pack racing is. Now, the problem, I think, for some of these drivers, Joey, what's going on in their heads is as we now have, a caution every 10 minutes so far, some of these drivers are being very aggressive because they know that based upon the current pace of racing, you may not have long to make a pass you want to make.
Daniel Knight now is the attacker. We've had Jeff Ward as the attacker. We've had Holly as the attacker. We've had Zachary Burnt as the attacker. Is Daniel Knight finally going to be the one who breaks Richard's domination? He's looking to the outside, trying to build up a run off of turn 4. It's going to be one by one by one by one in the top 4 those. The first instance side by side, it's Mark Kalin and Thomas Sink in the orange and white trucks side by side for the last spot in the top 5.
Look at the beautiful battle here. And that's what's different. I said earlier about Regan kind of pinching. Look at that. That 48 truck is going to move to the middle of the lane. He will get around the 62 more than likely because he's able to kind of get up there and run his lane. But now back to the bottom he is. Maybe not here, but this is a great battle. The problem is we're not seeing a whole lot of passing, Joey. A whole lot of close trucks together. A lot of people staying in line. Not that many people able to make a pass.
And I did some research, Derek. I did some searching. I believe Daniel Knight's last win in the PRL would have been in 2021. So it's been a little while. He's been searching for victory lane again. And what a story it would be for a guy who's always up front, who's always fighting to finally get another win and break that duck.
That would be a pretty great story to happen here in Vegas, and would really continue that trend of maybe not new winners, but at least, you know, not repeat winners here at Vegas if we could make that happen here. But right now, Richard Regan wants to be the first one in a while to make that not true and win this race. He's doing a great job. I mean, Richard Regan, one of the best at what we do, one of the best at sim racing, one of the best at winning in this league, and maybe not quite the wins that Bradley Holly has, but everyone respects Richard Regan when he's on the track.
And I mean, he's certainly chasing him down. Got his 77th win a little bit earlier this year. 78 would be this week if he pulls it off in 32 minutes. That's not 124, but I remember just a couple of years ago, Richard was in the 40s, and it was a big accomplishment for him to hit 50. Suddenly, he's starting to get close to that 100 number. It's definitely not impossible for him, or even for Abner Acosta, who's currently in P9. I think both of them are definitely thinking about hitting that triple-digit mark. Maybe not in 2025, but maybe in 2026 or so, very soon.
Yeah, might need to pick up an extra league or so. Hold on, another yellow. Here we go. The 10-minute trend is continuing. Oh, big wreck. Oh, my gosh. That's a hard hit for that black and green machine.
Doug Evans, hard into the wall. Nathan Deering in the 4, able to avoid him. But yet again, it's that critical cloud, that difficult storm in the back of the field from about 20th back. There's been all sorts of trouble today, and unfortunately this time it's Doug Evans involved. Was that his teammate Nick Hunter who was outside? No, that was Patrick Cowgill who was outside, and Doug and Patrick come together on the front stretch. Dalton Geyer's in there as well. Mike Toomer was able to avoid it, but that's gonna be a tough conversation. Doug Evans and Patrick Cowgill, two teammates coming together.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like Doug was clear. He just kind of came back up the track in that corner and right across the front of Cowgill and had that hard hit. Now, you asked me earlier, how do you beat Richard Regan? I would do whatever he doesn't do here. So he's pitting, I'd stay out. I would risk it here. You got to be different than this guy and get an advantage somehow.
Is anybody going to risk it? I'm looking at the back of the field. I think there's one guy. Jacob Dunn is the only one ducking the rest of the field, and I regret to inform you that Jacob Dunn is multiple laps down. So everybody who is on the lead lap, once again, is following Richard Regan Jr. and making this stop and getting 4 fresh tires. But there's only going to be one fresh set after this, Derek, so there's still 30 minutes left in the race. I think it's not going to be so uniform if we get another caution. You're not going to see the same strategy for everybody next time.
No, I'm surprised we're still uniform, Joey, and not just because of beating Richard. That's a side selling point, but like, you just made the best point ever. There's one set left on pit road for the next probably 27 minutes when we go green flag racing. Compared to the amount of cautions we've had, I would be saving some tires. We all know new tires are king at Vegas. I would be holding onto a set so I could work my way to the front, more aggressively than everybody else here. But here they line up. Right now it's Richard Regan, Daniel Knight, Bradley Holly, Jeff Ward, and Mark Kalin up in P5. I told you, he has a knack for these more classic 1.5 mile tracks. Well, there he is, right behind his teammate, Bluegrass Racing, P4, P5.
Yeah, it's a big day for Mark Kalin, and it's been a big year for him. We remember he won his first ever oval race in the PRL this year. It's kind of crazy to say. We always kind of assumed that he'd won one, but the reality was, until this year, He'd finish second, he'd finish third, he'd had poles, but he'd never actually made it to victory lane on a Wednesday night or a Sunday night. And it finally happened just a couple of weeks ago. I believe it was at Rockingham last season. So now that he's broken that duck, I wonder, is the second one on the way soon?
He really hopes so. And Mark's one of the good guys of PRL. You know, out here will help anyone, you know, do anything he can for anyone. Is a very long-standing member, one of the admin team members. So a great guy. And, you know, and to make it full circle, Joey, as I talked about, you know, being different than leader, Mark won that race on strategy. Mark was one of a few drivers left who had the fuel to make it. And really it was an exciting finish because we didn't know who was or wasn't going to make in the ending of that race. So while not a fuel strategy talk here, sometimes being different than the leader will help you out. But here we are, we're coming back around with 29, almost a little less than 29 minutes to go. We're not one to go, so we're going to come around one more time here and get this race under green, hopefully. I mean, that Mark Caitlin name sticks out to me as far as P5, Joey. But I would want to point out as well, you know, our AM leader, Brett Adams, doing a great job. Jamie Graham's up there. Andrew Sharp is up there in P13. The AM drivers, by the way, can be identified by the purple names on the scoring pylon.
And we do have to talk about the playoffs yet again, because some of these drivers need to have good days to get themselves or keep themselves alive in the playoff standings. We've already cut Philip Beaver and Jamie Graham in the top 16. Their playoffs hopes are over. But Andrew Sharp is P4 right now. He seems pretty safe, but you could have a bad day this week, you'd have a bad day next week, and suddenly your point standings are much, much more precarious. So for him, for right underneath him, some of those guys like Zach Panzarella, who's having a bad day, for Kyle Dewey, who's been having a bad day, they got to get every point they can, because that cutoff line is going to come very quick in 3 weeks.
Yeah, next week is Iowa, which it's a normal racetrack for the truck schedules and for the trucks themselves, but not a track I think we race a whole lot on iRacing. So it may be a track that benefits the veterans, Joey. So if I was someone who was unsure of how Iowa races or unsure of how good I am there, I would be doing everything I can to get every point possible out of Vegas.
And by the way, Kyle Dewey is not actually in the field. I was mistaken. I thought he was still here this week, but no, he's another driver who's unfortunately missing this week. And unfortunately, especially because he's the track record holder here at Las Vegas, or at least he was, with a 30.6 set in February of this year. I believe that record's actually been broken, as we're seeing 30.3s in this field. So we've got a new Vegas track record for that matter. We'll figure out who exactly it is once the race is over. But Richard Regan Jr. will take control of the field in the meantime. Half of the race gone, just under half to go. We're back to green with Regan in control. Trouble for Abner Acosta deeper in the field. A little bit of a blink on the restart ends with him getting out of line. He gets swallowed up by Jamie Graham in the 6th, and he'll lose some spots and fall down the order. Look at Bradley Holly, though. The inside again, winning out into turn 1. He clears Daniel Knight, and he's going to be on the attack once again, trying to chase down Richard.
By the way, a quick note on Abner Acosta before we focus on the I think either he missed a gear, Joey, or started in the wrong gear, because that truck just did not move the way it's supposed to on the start. You saw him in the bottom of your screen kind of dip out and get himself started. So we'll keep an eye on that. But right now, look at this Bradley Holly trying to make that battle, and maybe the closest battle we've seen all night for someone attacking Richard Regan Jr.
And could this be just a continuation of the championship battle this season? These guys are so close in the point standings, and they've fought for so long in the PRL. It's 93 points for Bradley Holly in the Season 4 standings. It's 84 points for Richard Regan Jr. That can flip and flop with every single race. And these guys, they're not even going to be going at it today. They're going to be going at it all season. And into turn 1, Holly still just stuck behind Regan. Sticks a nose to the outside, though. He's trying to make something happen. He hasn't been able to do it all day yet.
Yeah, you see Leroy looking on behind Bradley Holly here. Leroy maybe as surprised as we are that Bradley can't make the pass. But hold on, yellow again. This is going to be caution number 4 at Vegas. There it is. Everyone's good. That's Mike Toomer, I think, right there on your screen. But everyone looks okay from here, but there must have been something.
I think Jamie Graham in the 6th, unfortunately, was having such a great day. Was in the top 10 for the longest period of time. Unfortunately, he's fallen down to the back of the field. I have to imagine that there's a reason for that, and I have to imagine that the backstretch that has sucked so many people into mistakes and sucked so many people into trouble today, I have a feeling that Jamie Graham was the next truck to get bitten. Here he is with Abner Acosta, and just like a couple cautions ago, across the nose of Abner Acosta, Jamie Graham goes for a 360, a 720, a 1080 down the backstretch.
Man, what is with the not clear calls tonight? I don't know if it's a bat spotters system in place or if it's just drivers being too aggressive and wanting to be, within that momentum/draft-based system. I don't know. But that's like the third one we've seen of that same nature tonight. So, well, I'm pretty confident in saying, Joey, no one's going to pit here. No one can afford to pit here because you don't have the extra tires you need. If you take tires now, most drivers would be done for the rest of the night. But funny enough, I said it, Abner Acosta's down pit road. That's the only one I see on my screen that's pitting.
I think he's got damage, though.
Yeah, okay.
So I think the only drivers who are happy about this caution are the drivers who need to get some damage repaired on their trucks. So Abner's back down, Zach Panzarella, Jamie Graham, Nick Hunter, Ted Lowendick, Zachary Burnt. There's a lot of drivers and a lot of damaged trucks that needed some damage repair, so they're going to be happy with this, but everybody else in the field going to be racking them back up, saving a little bit of fuel, and getting ready to go here in hopefully just a few moments.
I mean, the other driver who's happy about all this is Richard Regan Jr., because he seems to be the king of restarts, and these runs are not long enough to let anyone really find momentum, if you will. I mean, no one's really getting a good enough run to get around him. And listen, we've talked about it. We've seen different people start up beside him all night long. Daniel Knight's been up there. Bradley Holly was up there. Zachary Burnt was up there. There's just something about starting on the outside in P2, Joey. It is like maybe my least favorite thing to do in all of iRacing. I don't know why. It's just hard to keep up with the leader. It's hard to have an eye on the leader and predict that jump. It's just difficult. It's so difficult to time correctly. And, with this new system that iRacing put in place about, I think, less than a year ago with the new restart rules, if you mess it up, if you get going too soon, it's a black flag. So many drivers are so timid to try it because you don't want to get in trouble.
And look who's coming into your screen right now, slowly coming down the front stretch in that 12 truck. James Morgan, talk about an underrated day, started 24th, currently 9th, has been running in the top 10 for the majority of the day, and he's a driver who needs a good day like this. Comes into the pro playoffs after running in the Grand National Series all year long. He accrued a few solid finishes, a lot of solid finishes for that matter, a lot of playoff points, but he was one of those drivers who was in conversation for getting cut in the round of 12. If he can finish in the top 10 while drivers like Ted Lowendick are in trouble and Colton Lane are in trouble, that could save James Morgan and maybe advance him to the round of 8.
Yeah, James really has hot and cold seasons. I mean, he came in early this year and really was hot, was involved in the points battle at the end of the season, and since then really has had a hard time kind of finding his groove. As part of the playoffs, one of the 2 top Rossi eSport vehicles in the field. But, I want to see James do well. He has the skills, he has the knowledge. I think sometimes maybe gets a little too wrapped up or a little too aggressive with the racing and doesn't always sit back and see it from a bigger picture, but great to see him up here in P9. Well, this time by, I expect to see the 1 to go signal so that we can get these cars double filed up and racing with about 20 minutes to go here. And right now, Richard Regan is just, he's led every lap. So you talked about the points difference, Joey, between Regan and Holly. Well, Regan's going to get points for the pole. He's going to get points for leading the most laps. I feel pretty confident in saying that. It's not official yet, I guess, but probably darn near close to official, if not done. So, even if they race 1 and 2 like they are, if we finished right now, Regan will gain a good number of points on Bradley Holly.
I liked what we were doing there for a moment. We had Holly, Knight, and Sink 3 wide into turn 1. We've had enough of these 2 wide restarts today. Why don't we just do a 3 wide restart for the heck of it?
Yeah, why not? Just do the, either I guess the World Outlaws or the opening start for the Indy 500.
Exactly. Let's do that at Vegas in a truck. What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah. What was that a couple years ago when NASCAR was doing an apology to the fans and they did the wasn't a start, but they did that 4 wide parade lap.
The 4 wide salute.
The 4 wide salute. Yeah.
I love it.
Let's just do that. Why not?
Why not? But alas, we live in reality in the PRL Truck Fixed series, and we will go racing once more, and we will restart them once more, 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. It's been a familiar cast of characters up front in the top 5. It's been basically the same guys all day long, but it has been an unpredictable day, and as the iRacing pace truck pulls back onto pit road, going to be Regan and Knight on the bottom row. Expect Richard Regan Jr. to get a fantastic restart as he always does. There he goes, streaking away. Holly tries to clear himself across the nose of Knight into turn 1, and he is successful. He does get to the inside. He doesn't want Knight to have that shorter radius into turn 1. That was aggressive from Holly, but he made it work.
That was aggressive indeed, but great job there. Now they're going to try to get the run here. Let's see if they want to move up. Nope, he's going to stick right behind him. Now he moves up. This may be the best chance he's had to pass Regan, but can't make it stick up there. Hold on, yellow again.
Trouble in the back of the field once more. Immediately on the restart. Not sure who it was back there. It may have been Abner Acosta, who I'm seeing at the back of the field. Also seeing Alex Hillman continually at the back of the field, Zachary Burnt as well. Those are just a couple of theories as to who may have been involved in this one, but yet again, Derek, track position is important. It's been tough to pass here, and it was Abner Acosta who phased out of reality and then phased immediately onto the track, broadside in front of Austin Hunter.
Yeah, and listen, Abner typically doesn't have those kind of internet problems. Abner is down in Florida, not too far from where we think the eye of the storm probably is, so makes me wonder if he's having a little bit of internet problems tonight. Unfortunately, he's kind of, blinked out, blinked in at the wrong spot there, but hopefully everyone back there, not too much damage, and we'll keep moving. But I want to talk for a second about the mindset of the drivers right now, because if you are, hold on, let's watch this again here from a different angle.
And I believe it's Mike Richter who ends up on the scene.
Yep, still can't really see it there, but there's Abner coming up again and hits somebody, and then comes back down the track. But I want to talk about the mindset of the drivers right now, Joey. If you're a Bradley Holly, a Daniel Knight, a Thomas Sink, these cautions have got to be eating you alive. They've got to be under your skin, irritating you, because you know that the only way you're probably going to pass Richard Regan is if we get this thing green and you are able to find a run, a drafting line, a momentum build, or something that he doesn't have. So every time this thing goes green, Richard Regan must have the biggest cheese-eating grin on his face ever, because he has to know that it probably keeps his place secure for a little bit longer.
Well, I do believe we have access to Richard Regan Jr.'s face. So can we see? Does he have a cheese-eating grin on? Or is he... I have a feeling I might know exactly what his face actually looks like. Because I'm sure he's smiling on the inside, but I have a feeling he looks exactly like he always does, and he's just kind of staring.
Yeah, probably so. But here's another thought I was thinking about. You and I talked about different strategies and how tires work in this race.
There he is.
There he is. Yeah, pretty stoic.
He's talking.
There you go.
Signs of life.
Talked about different strategies. What's going to be 14 minutes or so of driving left when we go green here. You and I talked about different ways to beat Richard Regan, and I said being different than his strategy would be one. At 14 minutes to go, I'd come pick that last set of tires, Joey. I would put new tires in this car and see if I could make up some ground. Yes, it's not been that many green flag laps since we did our last run, but, sometimes you just got to try something. You got to do a science experiment and see what comes out.
We'll see if we get another green flag run. That's really gonna diversify things here and blend up the field. So we're definitely set for an exciting finish. 15 minutes to go, no matter what. See what happens if Richard Regan Jr. can hang on here. Another shout out to those deeper in the field, by the way, in a race that has been of attrition, in a race where you do need to avoid chaos if you started in the back of the field. Brendan Chatley has done a phenomenal job of doing that. Was not allowed to qualify this week, had to start 37th and last. He's up into 14th, and a driver who's fighting for the AM Championship is having a fantastic day that could have been a very difficult day, starting at the back of the field in the track where it's tough to pass.
Well, and that, Brandon may be one of those drivers who's benefiting from all these yellows, because every yellow, it means a wreck, it means some damaged trucks, it means some people moving back. And if you're able to keep your nose clean and avoid those wrecks, you can quickly move through the field at a place like Vegas. So he is definitely probably the beneficiary of a few of these yellow flag moments.
And immediately in front of him, in unlucky 13th right now, maybe even lucky 13th, it's Dr. Beaver He got cut from the playoffs last week. Unfortunately, couldn't make it, not due to storms or anything bad. He was actually on vacation in Disneyland, so he couldn't make Talladega, but he's back at Vegas, and he's having a phenomenal day in the Philmar Racing number 61. Dr. Beaver is also up double digits of spots, and if he could pull off a top 10 today, I'm sure he'd be very happy with that.
Yeah, Philip told me he wasn't sure how the races are going to go. You know, doesn't have a drafting partner, Marty Calvert, as he said. Told me pre-race he dislocated his shoulder this week, so didn't think sim racing was the activity for him with a dislocated shoulder. And I would tend to agree with that diagnosis. I am not a doctor, unlike Philip Beaver, but I would say probably given force feedback and range of motion and blah, 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 I don't know how to say. Yeah, sim racing is not what you want to do with a dislocated shoulder.
Apparently it is, though, so maybe he should dislocate his shoulder more often? Is that the lesson we're learning here?
Well, no, Calvert's not here.
Oh, that's right. It was Calvert that dislocated his shoulder.
Yeah.
I was thinking I thought Beaver dislocated his shoulder as well. I thought Dr. B was also going through it.
That'd be some weird. That'd
be a bad karma for Philmar Racing.
Yeah, that would not be in your recruiting package, you know.
Yeah. Did you floss today, Derek?
I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want to get in trouble.
Don't worry, neither did I. I will, though. When you go to the dentist, I'm sure Dr. Beaver is going to hate me saying this, but if you floss right before you go to the dentist, I feel like they believe that you've been flossing forever. So there's a little dental secret for you. Let's sink our teeth into this restart, for that matter. Richard Regan Jr. at the front of the field. Deja vu yet again. Green flag flies at Vegas. And once again, Holly's able to pull off that move where he pulls down to the bottom, clears Knight into turn 1, and gets a straight shot at Richard through turns 1 and 2. Look at Thomas Sink in the number 48 on the outside. Not getting the run he'd like as Kalen gets to his inside to break into the top 4. And Sink is all on his lonesome on the outside as Holly peeks to the outside into turn 3.
Let's see if they make it stick. This is a great run at it, but nope. If Knight was willing to stick there with Holly, I think they could have made it work. But the moment that drafted line breaks apart, it benefits Richard Regan every time.
Things are getting a little bit snaky through the tri-oval. Regan moving up, moving down, just trying to block off the momentum of Holly. How long can he get away with that, though? Is Holly going to be able to break up that draft, break up that air, and get to his inside? He was too busy being side-by-side with Daniel Knight through 1 and 2 that time. No run for the 184 as Knight gets contact from the back from Mark Kalen. He's able to save it. Kalen sweeps around the outside, but that's going to check up the entirety of the field. Look at one of the 32 truck falling down the order. Andrew Sharp gets by him. No caution, no trouble. Everybody keeps it pointed straight, but a little bit of a bobble in the top 5 has effects for the rest of the field.
Use whatever analogy you want, luck of the draw, spinning the roulette wheel, whatever you want to say. The fact that truck stayed moving forward and not spun around with how sideways it was in that corner is nothing short of amazing. But here's Andrew Sharp, currently P13, currently our AM points leader, and he is focused in. Look at that. Is that like a bitter beer face on Andrew Sharp? Am I the only one old enough to remember the bitter beer face commercials?
I can't say I remember the bitter beer face.
Okay, well, I'll show you later. There's commercials for Miller Lite or Bud Light in the late 90s. But anyways, here he is. Look at this. Got a run going on. Going to pass a car that's on his inside possibly. But this is a great example of how things happen at Vegas and why these wrecks happen, because look how close all that is in front of him, Joey. That's probably up to like P7 or 8 at the front of that field, all bunched together. And if one of them makes a mistake, it's going to be pure unbridled chaos.
And Andrew Sharp, I feel like, has been a great example of a driver who is making the best out of maybe not his best weekend. He was in the middle of the field in qualifying, has been in the middle of the field for the majority of the day in the race here, but he's survived all the trouble. He's made spots when he can, and now, as he sends it into turn 3 on the inside of Dr. Beaver, he might get a top 12, even a top 10 for his efforts in a day where he, frankly, hasn't seemed that fast, and that might be the mark of a champion. Making your worst days, or having your best worst day, is what we always look at for a champion.
Yeah, it's important, isn't it? I mean, Andrew, of course, has 2 wins in the Truck Series. He did back in Season 1 at Willow Springs, and then back in Season 3 last season he did at Darlington. So it's coming alive here and trying his best. But here we are. Look at this group here, 2 by 2, 3 deep. That's going to be, I think, James Morgan in that black and red machine leading this group around. Well, there's a car in front of him. That's going to be Brett Adams. And man, they are just so bunched together.
Adams kind of in a league of his own in the AM class so far today, as you saw Dr. Beaver getting high into turn 2. Phillip gets a little bit of contact to the right side of that truck. But Brett Adams, multiple spots over anybody else in his AM rivalry. Andrew Sharp now up to second. Nick Schwartz, who's been having a good day, is third in the AM class right now. But Brett is fighting with the pros. He's in between Jeff Ward and James Morgan. Jeff Ward, winner from earlier this season.
And I think this is proof that what you're pro and AM simply based upon what series you ran last year. This has nothing to do with skill, has nothing to do with driver ability. It just shows that it doesn't matter if you're pro or AM, you belong on this track, you're equal, as he almost got bump drafted there by James Morgan. So I think right now Brett Adams is the poster child for saying, hey, listen, pro and AM doesn't matter. Just go out there and race and let whatever's going to happen and worry about it post-race.
And here comes James Morgan to his inside into turn 1. Morgan in the 12, clear of Adams in the 23, fairly straightforwardly. He is clear, does get up to the top to block off Brett, and that'll be James up into P7. The gap has not closed up front, really. Holly has been in sort of a bubble of air behind Regan, about a 1/10.5 for the entirety of this stint since this restart. See if Holly can do anything to break that up, or if it's going to be a battle in the middle of the field where we see the closest racing here. As you look immediately behind, Beaver and Schwartz side by side for the last spot outside the top 10, and Jeff Evans is looking to get a spot on Brett Adams for P8.
Lots of battles happening right here. Look at this battle. There's a pass on the inside here. That's going to be right here. Jeff Evans getting around and now making the pass, trying to clear himself back up, wants to get it done, but not exactly. But he'll win the race to the line, I believe, if that mattered this time. But James Morgan is pulling away as his drivers run side by side.
And look at Nathan Deering. Talk about a comeback day, qualified almost all the way at the front, started P3, got dumped down to the back of the field in some early cautions, got shuffled all the way back, and now he's driven his way all the way up into the top 10 in that Hyperion Racing number 4, side by side with Brett Adams for P9. He's not done. He wants even more. He wants to get closer to the top 5 where he started.
Yeah, so I'd say at one point, he was up in the conversation, maybe making a pass for the lead, and had some unfortunate incidents that put him back where he is now, but still a very solid recovery run for Nathan Deering here in P10 as he stands right now. So about 7 minutes on the clock, Joey. We're not too far from that point of no return. So everyone's kind of holding their breath and trying to make it move as fast as possible, because probably, I'm guessing, after the 4 to 5 minute mark, this race is what it is. It'll be official on the next flag.
And if you're going to wreck, you better do it quick here. Very close battle between some teammates and former teammates. 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Mark Kalin, Daniel Knight, Thomas Sink. And look at Jeff Ward ripping the high top through turns 1 and 2. He wants to be a part of this as well. It might not be a fight for the win, as they've lost a little bit of ground to Holly and Regan. It's about a full second gap, but it is going to be a fight for 3rd as Knight sends it to the inside of Kalin through 3 and 4. The longer run on the outside, a longer run and a faster run for Mark Kalin will keep him in P3, but Knight's on the attack, and here comes Sink as well.
Yeah, doing a great job is Sink. Really, one of the drivers that I think is committed based on the whole race, Joey, to that top lane. Thomas Sink must love it up there, because I think every time you and I have seen that orange machine on the camera shots, it's been in the top lane. So obviously he feels more comfortable up at the top lane of the Vegas Speedway here. Well, 6 minutes to go. Richard Regan has a comfortable lead. You're watching the closest battle on track here. This is Sink, that's Jeff Ward, that's Daniel Knight. And they're all racing right behind Mark Kalin, who's up in P3.
I tell you what, Ward is flying right now. He was barely in the precipices of this battle a couple of moments ago. Now he's cleared Knight, and he looks to be faster than both Sink and Kalin. Ward could be on for a recovery drive here to steal P3 away as the caution flies with 5.5 minutes to go. That is right in the margin for potentially getting a 1 or 2 lap shootout to restart this race. These have been fast cautions all day long, so I think we will go racing again. But that has spiced things up, Derek. It is essentially going to be a green-white checkered finish if we do get a green flag finish.
It might just be green checkered. We'd have to wait to see how fast we get through here and get lined up. Be right. It's going to be watch this replay. That's Colton Lane in a 60, I do believe.
Oh.
Nope. That's a 6. That's the second time he's been involved, Jamie Graham, in an incident tonight. I don't know if he actually made contact with Lane. I have to see a different angle of that replay, Joey. If he didn't, he came darn close. Well, here we come back to that topic I said, remember, about the 14-minute mark, if I would have put tires on the vehicle, because now, unless you're in the very back of the field, Joey, there's no reason to do it. Watch this again. Hold on. Boop. Oh, no. Oh, there it is. Yeah, small boop. Very, very small boop. But with probably only at most 2 laps left in this race when we go green, unless you're in the very back of the field, unless you are maybe like a, I don't know, a Jamie Graham, a Zachary Burnt, a Mike Toomer Jr., who has nothing to lose, you're not going to have enough time to make up for those new tires.
Yeah, and it looks like the majority of the field has listened to you, Derek, but from 14th back, there were a couple takers. Dalton Geyer, Dustin Bumgarner, and Tyler Graff of the damage-free trucks have elected to go off strategy. I think they were probably hoping for a few more to follow him in, because it's only the damaged trucks of Ted Lowendick and Mike Toomer who joined their strategy. So unfortunately for Geyer, he's traded a 13th place or so restart for what looks like is going to be a 25th place restart on fresh tires.
And that's tough. That's why I said it's hard to think you can make up the space here. I mean, new tires are king, and if we stay green for 2, maybe 3 laps, they're going to feel like the most overpowered trucks on the track because of how much grip they're going to have. The problem sometimes with the grip and what we've seen before, and think back to Kansas, is sometimes when you get drivers on different levels of tires, it just makes it easier for an incident to happen, right? Because it just someone doesn't realize how much more speed they have and they end up running over someone else. Well, let's keep an eye on the clock, Joey. We're going to come around here. Lights are not on yet. I doubt they'll be this time, but that'll be the battle now. The battle now on the track is almost the pace truck versus the clock.
And by the way, Derek, I mentioned earlier about the track record at Vegas, or at least a truck track record at Vegas, was previously a 30.6 set by Kyle Dewey in season 1 of 2024. I can now confirm that with a 30.172 as of right now, Philip Beaver has set the new track record in racing conditions in a truck at Las Vegas in the PRL. All those conditions, but it's still a record right now for Beaver.
Oh, it is. It's a great record. In fact, I mean, part of it's going to be due to the new truck model a couple seasons ago. I mean, maybe due to this style of pack racing, the setup we're running, but that's an incredible difference in that. That shows you how different these trucks run from a couple seasons ago. That's
the world's fastest dentist.
Get him an LMP3.
Yes, please. And the best part, this is my favorite part, he said a 30.172. Richard Regan Jr. said a 30.174. So the dentist is taking the record away by 2 thousandths.
Yeah, don't tell Richard Regan. Yeah, don't tell Richard Regan, because he will try. Richard is a competitor. He's a great competitor, and he will try if he knew.
Well, the thing that hasn't helped him is you definitely want a lot of the draft to be able to set the track record of this track, and Richard has not had that capability. He has led every single lap today.
Every lap. All right, well, here we come around again. About 1:25 when we hit the line here. Let's watch that pace truck, Joey. We're watching for those blinking lights. If they go out, we're going to go 1 to go. Moment of suspense. This dramatic TV right here, Joey.
Yes, we will cross the line with 1 minute to go, and that means that we will take the white flag on this restart, because normally a lap around here takes about 30 seconds, so they did not throw the white flag that time. The white flag will be thrown this time around, and it will be a 1-lap shootout between Richard Regan Jr., Bradley Holly, Mark Kalin, and maybe a couple others to see if anybody can steal this win at Vegas.
And another thing to remember, according to PRL rules, once we get to the white flag, once Richard Regan takes the white flag, all bets are off. Whatever happens, happens. There'll be no caution. So if you're in the back of the field, I would keep my eyes fully wide open, keep my hands gripped on that wheel, and be ready to avoid whatever happens in front of you.
This is tense, but for Richard, he has led every single lap today. There hasn't even been an off-strategy truck that's been able to steal a lap from him. Whether it's on the restarts, whether it's in green flag running, he has led every single one of them. But Bradley Holly knows Richard Regan Jr. better than any other driver in this field. They've raced together so many times. Is this finally the restart where he's able to take advantage and able to keep him company on this restart? Will we restart at all? The iRacing pace truck pulls onto pit road. The white flag is in the hands of Barney the Flagman, and I do believe it'll be a one-lap shootout at Vegas to decide this winner. They crossed the line with the green flag in hand. We will go racing for 1.5 more miles. Look at Bradley Holly down to the bottom, blocking off his teammate Mark Kalin. Can Holly get a run here? He's only got this one back stretch to make this happen, and he's going to have one attempt into turn 3 to make something happen on Regan. Bradley's former teammate Mark Kalin tries to attack him into 3. Nothing's coming there, though. Through 3 and 4 for the final time. Holly's looking for a way by on the outside, but it's going to be a clean sweep as Richard Regan Jr. pulls off the Grand Slam at Vegas and wins for the first time this season. Every single lap led from pole for the number 56.
And Joey, that was a completely clean lap for the whole field. There was not a single car spun around, not a single bit of maybe some contact, but no wrecks. Great job by everybody for that one lap. But Richard Regan again is your winner and puts another W in the record book.
And he's come close both times this season. Was running up front at Kansas, ended up losing that race to Jeff Ward. Was running up front at Talladega, lost that race to Bradley Holly. But Richard finally gets one in the win column. And look at how this last lap went, Derek. Kalin looked for a way by, tried to steal second away from Holly. It didn't come. And unfortunately, the run, which was very sizable for Holly, wasn't quite enough to get him fully alongside through 3 and 4 to have a shot at the line.
No, but watch this here. This is now through 3 and 4. Watch how close this is from this angle, by the way. You see Regan pulled up, Holly pulls up. But look, Holly gets a bit of a run on that draft there. Less than 1/10 of a second. That's how close that was at the line.
And Richard deservedly gets those victory donuts. Win number 78 for Richard Regan Jr. in the PRL. Third all time. He's got 3 more to chase Abner Acosta. And then a very realistic possibility of chasing down Bradley Holly after that. But for now, he's not thinking about stats. He's thinking about this win. And we do have to give a shout out to Brett Adams in the 23, your AM winner today. Very dominant in terms of the AM category, and he brings it home in P9, but also with a win. Richard Regan Jr. wins up at the top. Holly and Kalin round out the top 3. Fantastic day from Kalin. It should be set up 23 spots. Daniel Knight and Thomas Sink round out the top 5. I think Sink is going to continue with his record of highest average finish at Vegas with that top 5. Jeff Ward came home in P6 ahead of James Morgan and Jeff Evans. Brett Adams was your AM winner, finishing P9, and Nathan Deering, a solid day, rounds out in the top 10 for him. Nicholas Schwartz, 2nd in AM, 11th overall. Andrew Sharp, 3rd in AM, 12th overall. Great day, recovery for Andrew Sharp. Philip Beaver, Dr. Beaver, unlucky 13th, still had a great day in total. Austin Hunter and Patrick Cowgill rounded out the top 15. Chatley, Hunter, Medina, Panzarella, and Hillman all ended up rounding out the top 20 with assorted amounts of luck. Ted Lowendick had a bad start to the day and unfortunately just kept getting involved in the wrecks. He finishes 21st ahead of Colton Lane, Tom Macy, Tyler Graff, Mike Toomer Jr., Kevin McGarvey, Geyer, Knight, Bumgarner, and Burnt. Talk about different stories. Zachary Burnt started P4 and ended up in P30. Jamie Graham was 1 lap down at the end of it all after spinning a couple times, and then we get into the used truck lot of trucks with heavy damage. Jacob Dunn was 8 laps down. Stacy Hunter got into trouble. Abner Acosta was in trouble. Richter, Evans, and Schmidt rounded out the 37 trucks that started this race today. And the driver who led those drivers for every single one of those laps was Mr. Richard Regan Jr. Whether it was a restart, whether it was a green flag run, nobody could kick you out of the lead. Was track position that important today? What gave you all that dominance?
Yeah, definitely track position. I was hoping, obviously, that last caution wouldn't come out. I knew I had really good long run pace, so I was just trying to stay out front as long as I could and wait till the tires wore out a little bit and start trying to pull a gap. But just glad I was able to get one of these in the truck because I definitely missed the Xfinity car. But yeah, well, I think the rest of the season, the schedule for trucks will suit me better than what we've had to start. It's been a lot of like 1.5 mile drafting tracks, so looking forward to the rest of the season.
And how much momentum does this give you? Because Kansas looked like it was going your way. Strategy went the other way. You were up front at Talladega before the caution came out. How much does finally getting a win on the season set you up for these final 6 rounds?
Yeah, I mean, it gives me a little bit of momentum, I guess. My like deadline to try to win one of these, I know this might sound cocky, but was going to be for Iowa next week. I kind of came in to the season knowing the first 3 races were going to be hit or miss, just because of how the truck drives. And so it's nice that I was able to beat my deadline by a week. And yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to Martinsville, Phoenix. Homestead's one of my favorite tracks. And then we got the championship race at Auto Club, which is by far my favorite track in the sim. So definitely looking forward to the rest of the year.
Well, welcome back to Victory Lane, Richard, and we'll see you next week.
Yep, thank you. I'd like to give a shout out to Susan G. Komen, Multiple Sclerosis Society, Neonas and Paints, JZ Photography, Stant Analyzer, everybody at Regenboog Motorsports. Awesome job tonight for Zach and Nick. We all qualified up in the top 4 tonight, and unfortunately Nathan. And unfortunately, they had some incidents happen throughout the race, but Nathan bounced back for a top 10, which is awesome. And got to give a shout out to RaceSpot for spotting and crewing me tonight. He did awesome again. Shout out to you guys at RaceSpot and everyone at the PRL.
Always a pleasure. Richard Regan Jr., the company man, comes home victorious today at Vegas. Coming home behind him was Bradley Holly. Still waiting for him to sort out some microphone issues, so I believe we may have to switch down to P3. Mark Kalin immediately behind him, and Mark Kalin is standing by with Derek.
Well, Mark, what a great run in that Bluegrass Motorsports machine. You had a really fun run all night. Surprising, you got up in the top 3, stayed there. Look at that Wildcats t-shirt like that. Little promotion there for the team. So talk me through the final restart. What was going through your mind?
Well, I got to be honest, I wasn't going to lift until I saw the checkers or I saw Jesus. So Brad was very close to getting himself turned there on the restart across my nose. He, I don't think could have cut it any tighter than what he did, but kudos to Richard and Brad. They ran a great race all race long, and somehow I came from 26th up to 3rd, so I will take it, and may as well be a victory for me from where I started and how difficult this race was.
So which are you having more success at currently, PRL Racing or NCAA 25?
I'd say it's pretty even right now. Yeah, not doing too hot in the Dynasty with my Whataback boys over there, but yeah, we've had some hit or miss races here as well. Had a tough run at Talladega, and then got caught up in a wreck 2 weeks ago. So yeah, it's just been a struggle. So I really needed this podium for my playoff and season-long championship and whatnot. So yeah, I was just really happy to get a podium and the first podium with Bluegrass Motorsports. So happy for that as well.
There you go. Well, listen, great job tonight, and we'll see you next week at Iowa.
Thanks, Derek. Have a good one.
Thanks, Mark. All right, that is Mark Kalin, driver of the 62 machine, and he finishes P3.
And now Bradley Holly, your second place finisher, is in fact ready. Brad, you had a green-white checkered, or basically just a green checkered at the end there. You gave it everything in 3 and 4, but what more did you need to dump Richard out of the way?
I mean, honestly, there's no way I was going to dump Richard out of the way. If I was going to pass him, I wanted to do it clean and have a good race. But I mean, I tried a few times to get by him, but with the way the truck is here, it was basically flat out. You couldn't really change a different line to get there and make a move. So I don't know. I mean, I could have stuck my nose in, but I'm afraid we would have turned each other, or I would have turned him.
And you have a new friend back there. I know he was watching. I know he was your spotter. How much did Leroy contribute today? Was he giving you advice?
No, he was talking a lot of trash since he missed last week because he didn't get to be part of the win. So,
but is that like a tough love sort of thing? Does that give you confidence, or is that just like you want to kill him even more?
I mean, he killed himself with the tobacco and beer that he drank all the time.
That's true.
So I don't think I could kill him anymore. He's a good support. He'll be here through October, and may, depending on how my luck's going, he may stay for the rest of the season.
Exciting stuff. Congrats on second. That's second to start the season. It's a pretty good average, and we'll see you and Mr. Leroy, who Derek, by the way, says has more hair, at Iowa next week.
He does. He definitely has more hair.
Absolutely. Bradley Holly coming home second and probably going to take the championship lead if I'm not mistaken after that. But we do have a couple more drivers to talk to, and we have our 9th place finisher, but our AM winner, Brett Adams, is here, the driver of the number 23. You were kind of in the epicenter of the action all day long. How intense was that from your perspective, fighting for the AM win in the middle of the field?
Yeah, I gotta say, it feels a little strange getting a win from P9, but hey, I'll take it. I've had a rough season with a couple of DNFs, and yeah, it's been kind of a mess. But yeah, with this this package and just the way it was racing tonight, it was really hard to have any kind of separation all night. And so yeah, kind of caught up in a couple of things. May have led to a couple myself. So yeah, it was a bit of a mess tonight.
And you've got a pretty good margin, though, with those playoff points, but there are 2 more rounds to go in the round of 12. How confident are you feeling with the next 2 rounds and surviving to the round of 8 potentially?
I think I'll be all right. Where are we at next? I think we've got Iowa coming up and Homestead, I believe.
Yep.
Yep. And I like both of those tracks. So yeah, I think I'll do a bit better and hopefully can fight for a P1 overall.
There you go. Congrats on the run tonight, Brett, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Thanks, fellas.
Brett Adams, your AM winner, and we do have your AM runner-up as well. A solid day from Nick Schwartz, and Nick Schwartz is with Derek Watson.
Well, Nick, you are the AM runner-up in this race. Man, that looked chaotic out there. Like, was it just as chaotic in the cars it looked from up top in the broadcast booth?
Yeah, I mean, there was, I don't think I've ever had a race in my life where I've had more 0Xs. It was just a lot of beating and banging on people, trying not to run people over in the corners. And I think really what we saw is that, you needed to be on the outside line for a lot of the race. If you got to the inside, you just kind of got stuck there, especially as the tires wore out. So it was tough, but happy with finishing P11. I mean, I know I could have finished probably 7th or 8th, but we just got a little caught up in traffic there, but overall a good race.
So when you think about how much beating and banging there was tonight at a big track like Vegas, what are your concerns about moving to Iowa next week?
Yeah, it's going to be tough, especially if we keep getting, 37 cars showing up every week. But I'm looking forward to it. I really like the schedule that we have the rest of the year. I think Martinsville is going to be crazy, but outside of that, I think we've got some chances for some good racing the rest of the way.
All right, well, listen, great job tonight on the P2 and AM, and we'll see you next week. All right, Joey, that is Nick Schwartz finishing P2 and AM, and he's right. That's probably the best way to describe this race. A lot of beating, a lot of banging, a lot of 0Xs, a lot of contact.
And exciting times all the way through, ending with one of the most intense restarts we've seen in quite a while. A single lap to decide it all. And it was Richard Regan Jr. who ended up coming out on top. But next week, we will move away from the speedway-style racing to the bull ring, 7/8 of a mile in Newton, Iowa. Iowa Speedway always puts up an exciting race in the PRL Truck Fixed series, and can only imagine it's going to be more of the same next week. There's also going to be more PRL action tomorrow night. The GTP GT3 series is on deck here on RaceSpotTV, so all sorts of PRL action, all sorts of racing. We hope you'll join us for all the varieties of it. But for now, I've been Joey Tebben. Derek Watson's been Derek Watson. Our producer has been Hugo Luis. And until we see you next time, so long.